welcome back to another episode of NCP. My name is Staz, and today's going to be a movie review. And can you guess what kind of movie it is? It is the Avengers Age of Ultron review. Now, we're going to be expanding upon this topic in a future video where we're going to talk about Avengers 1 and 2, which one is considered the greatest comic book movie of all time. But in this one, it's just going to be a simple review compared to the first movie, and then how does this stand alone to its, how does this stand on its own, and what can we expect for future Marvel movies. So, I want to keep it very simple. I don't do necessarily ratings like out of 10s or out of 5s. I just give what we like, don't like, and then whether or not you should check it out in theaters, wait for DVD, or don't do it. So what I liked, non-stop action. It was really, really good. Right off the opening sequence, like the first 10 minutes is basically that selfie trailer that we got off the initial or the official trailer review, where they're all jumping through this snow-covered forest and stuff like that. Oh, and I should also say as well that this is going to be a spoiler review, so I will be talking about certain scenes in the movie that would be deemed spoiler. So if you're looking just for a general impression, just keep listening, and then I'll also mention the spoiler topic. So, but the opening sequence, really, really good. A lot of action, and then in general, there's a whole bunch of action in this film that the first Avengers didn't have. Surprisingly, I was very. You think that the action was really good in the first Avengers? This tops it. This makes it, awesome. The other thing, too, is the team dynamic. Now, in the first Avengers, we got to see how, Thor, Tony Stark, Captain America, Hawkeye at the end of the film, Black Widow, and Hulk kind of interacted with each other, including Nick Fury. But in this film, we actually got to see that a much bigger team dynamic. And in this film, too, Roy Rogers is basically the team leader. He is Captain America, and you can really sense that through this film, which is good, because then it also gives you some interesting thoughts about how this is going to act in Marvel Civil War, which is going to be the next big film after Ant-Man. And there's some interesting dialogue that happens between Tony and Captain America that I won't dive into now, but you'll notice some of the tension that kind of sets up Civil War. Another thing that I like too is the humor. Very similar to the first Avengers, where the Hulk, spoilers, Hulk tossed Loki around and then said puny god at the end of it. There's a lot more of these, not necessarily one-liners, but mannerisms and reactions to one another's dynamic. How Tony Stark reacts to Captain America, or how Thor reacts to Hulk, or whatever. There's these reactions with each other that are funny to watch. It's hilarious to see, and I think that's another added bonus that to this movie that makes it so much better than the first film. Then the first film is a god compared, is a god of a comic book movie, and the second one is just godlier. I'm really, really liking this film, and multiple viewings might change it, but there's that. Now, those are just a couple of positives, a couple negatives, and these are something that I think a lot of critics and maybe other people might have picked up on, is some of the character development of the villains and the Maximoff twins seemed rushed, and makes you wonder, okay, is that because they're, is it because of time restraints, or why did they kind of glance over this particular aspect? Like, for example, spoiler, how Ultron is made. Again, this is a spoiler. Ultron is made by the combination of the Ultron program that Tony and Bruce Banner has been working on, and this alien AI that Baron von Strucker, at the end of Winter Soldier was messing around with, which comes from the Loki scepter, which is an odd pairing, but from those particular sources, they've merged into this self-aware AI that instantly knows who he is, instantly wants to exterminate the humanity, and wants to get rid of the Avengers. I felt that because, again, what people might have missed, and I almost missed on this as well, but I had to kind of reflect on it, and I might pick it up on multiple viewings, but we get the sense that this is about a year or two after Avengers, okay, and Bruce Banner and potentially Iron Man, Tony Stark, have been working on this program for ever since the ending of Iron Man 3, okay, which is the soonest part in Phase 2 that happens directly after Avengers. So there's dialogue that makes you think that, like, oh, okay, Bruce Banner and Tony Stark have been working on this program, and they've tried to use it in a certain way, but they've never been able to fully interface it, is the term that they use in the film. But this alien program is much more advanced, and it takes this Ultron program, and then it just basically makes it come alive. It makes Ultron, makes him who he is. And I actually bought into it. I didn't necessarily think that we needed more backstory on Ultron. Now, there are certain parts that I wish that we got explained upon more, or he got more flushed out, because he's actually there's some pretty funny lines from Ultron. There is some funny stuff, and it almost makes you kind of wonder if the Josh Whedon or Kevin Feige or whoever in Marvel wanted you to kind of almost kind of feel for him in a way. He's not necessarily bad, he's just a product of what he was given, and he's trying to do what he needs to be done in order to, quote unquote, save the world, which inadvertently, also another spoiler, it's not just wiping out humanity, it's about making humanity evolve into stronger people, or into a stronger species, and that's how Ultron views it, as protecting Earth. If the humanity is stronger, then they can protect themselves from the outside alien threats. And that's a very big push behind Iron Man as well, which might leave in the Civil War, is that he saw otherworldly people besides the Asgardians, the Chitauri and the first Avengers, and he is frightened, and he is freaked out by it. So that might play into a big part with Civil War. Now, another negative aspect is, I guess you can kind of pair these up, is the Bruce Banner Black Widow, or spoilers, Bruce Banner Black Widow romance, and the Hawkeye time. Now, I don't have necessarily a big problem with the Hawkeye time, because he did get gypped out of the first Avengers. He wasn't really a part of the team until the end of the movie, the last 45 minutes. His character gets better fleshed out than I think other characters in this film does. But don't forget that we had the first Avengers film for them to kind of set up their mannerisms, and we had other films with them to kind of give you what they're going to be like in Avengers 2. That might seem like a cop-out to some people, or I have to do research, blah, 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 but there's other material that gives you instances of how these people act, okay? And the other, not necessarily negative, but I guess you can call it a gripe, was the Bruce Banner Black Widow love romance. It seemed kind of forced a little bit, but I was believing it towards the end, because there's certain instances where Hulk saves Black Widow, and you kind of feel that, oh, maybe they do kind of care for each other. So there's that, and then one more thing too is the first film had multiple scenes or long periods of time where it was dialogue, and I call it resting movement, where there's not a lot of action going on the screen. The second film, this 95% of the time, there's action going on. There's people running around, shooting, smashing, throwing hammers, whatever the case may be. But there are, sprinkled throughout the movie, areas to quote unquote catch your breath. Towards the end, spoiler, Hulk kicks out Ultron out of the Quinjet, and he basically just flies to middle of nowhere. And John Campea from AMC Movie Talk pointed this out, which I agree with him, is that it's very poetic. It's very serene, calming scene that the Hulk is just letting him go, or the Hulk is just going wherever this plane was going to go, and just just chill and calm and stuff like that. So those instances of, especially the Hawkeye farm scene where he's at his house. That is probably the longest time that you will see without quote unquote action going on. Maybe next to the party scene. They're maybe about similar in length, but I think the Hawkeye farm scene is a little bit longer. But oh man, those instances of where there's nothing going on, where you can catch your breath, more so to speak, just kind of like soak it in as much as you can. Like, okay, this is a break. Prepare yourself. That's pretty much all I need to wanted to talk about. Some pros, cons, and then whether or not you should see it, either in theaters, DVD, or not at all. You should definitely see this in theater. You should definitely go and see this at least twice, just because that there are instances, depending on how you see it. If you see it in the packed theater, you might not hear certain little dialogue changes or little nuances from Vision. Now, Vision is a phenomenal character. I can't wait for him to be used in future Marvel movies. I will say that I was not expecting, and this is, again, spoiler territory right now, I was not expecting Vision to be given the Mind Stone, which is one of the Infinity Gems, which will be used in Infinity Wars Part 1 and 2. So that just blew my mind away. I was like, well, no pun intended. And his character, well, you think he's got this Infinity Stone, the Mind Gem. You think he's going to be uber and he's just going to wreck house. That's not the case. He's probably given. I will probably say that Thor is potentially the most strongest character, next to like the Hulk. Well, the Hulk can literally destroy anything, but Thor, I think, is the most like powerful, like magical like character. I think Vision is now the strongest Avenger, and that's not saying a whole lot, but and I'm not saying that Iron Man or Captain America, War Machine, he's also in there as well, or even Scarlet Witch. They're not weak. It's just that Vision, I think, is going to be a crucial member because he's got that Mind Gem. And I almost forgot to mention this, but there is only one after credit scene. And it happens after the initial wind down of the movie, and you see Thanos put his hand in a Infinity Gauntlet, and he says, "I guess I have to do everything myself." And then he just looks up with the gauntlet. Now, again, this is why I need another viewing. I don't think he had any gems in there at the moment, because right now he doesn't have any gems to my knowledge. He had the Mind Stone, and he gave it to Loki, so. In his scepter, because you find out that inside the scepter is the Mind Stone, which fans have been speculating in, and most likely, and it turns out that they were correct. So it's very interesting to see where Vision's going to be going as an Avenger character, because Thanos is definitely going to have to go after him, and to be honest, he actually might die. It makes you think that, like, maybe without the Mind Stone, is Vision going to be dead? Is there going to be something that's going to go on with that? So, it's something that you got to check out and have you guys form an opinion on. And I would like to hear that as well. Maybe I'm a little nuts, or maybe I'm thinking like everybody else is. So that's always a good thing. So again, definitely check this out in theaters. You should go as many times as you want. I'm at least recommending 2 times. You don't have to see it in 3D. I saw it in normal 2D. It looked phenomenal. It still looked really good. I didn't miss out on anything. And again, it was better than the first film. Now, that could change with other Marvel movies at the moment, but it's Avengers 2, Avengers, and then my backing then goes like, oh boy, Avengers 2, Avengers, Captain America Winter Soldier, or I'm sorry, Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier, Thor Dark World, Iron Man 3, then Iron Man 1, Captain America, Thor, then Iron Man 2, and then like the Incredible Hulk. Now that's my preferred listing of how I rank them, but they're all still good films. The only one that I really have issued with was Iron Man 2. I thought that was kind of a cheesier film, just because it happened during the writer's strike, I think, or right around that time. But yeah, it's a really good film, and I'm looking forward to Ant-Man now in July. I'm looking forward to Civil War, and then what the other films that are coming out after that, you know, Black Panther, Inhumans, Doctor Strange. Oh, this is going to be such a wonderful couple of years up until Infinity War. And I also will say, too, that Thor goes on this quote-unquote vision quest, and it seems the pacing's off a little bit. I agree with some people that it seemed like they needed to have some sort of way of setting up, you know, Infinity Wars Part 1 and 2, which this vision quest does, which I have no problem with. But the pacing of it seems a little goofy. But that's just my opinion. I still enjoyed the film. I don't necessarily have any big issues with it. And so, with that being said, please go check out Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. You won't be disappointed in it. And let us know what you think of it. You know, comment, rate, subscribe. Let us know on Facebook. Let us know on our website. Enjoy the film. Do it justice. Have it do justice to you. And again, my name is Staz, and go check out Age of Ultron 2. And have a good rest of your day.